Section 25 that Dr. Lanois refers to in his letter, you must, in order to implement it, you must first go to Section 20. And Section 20 reads, a person who exercises a power pursuant to any section 22 to 29 must first consider any matters set out in any regulations made pursuant to Clause 46 1p. Section 20, therefore, sends you to the regulations. And once you're in the regulations, all regulations are subject to the Health Act. And the Health Act states in Section 46(2), notwithstanding any other act or law, all regulations made pursuant to this act may be made retroactive to a day not earlier than the day on which this act comes into force. Therefore, Dr. Lanois can't simply apply Section 25 without taking into consideration Section 46(2), and Section 46(2) is the grandfathering clause. At the same time as Dr. Lanois' letter, there was a letter received from Peter Ross, request for access for the purpose of inspection. Access to your property, not within the dwelling, is hereby requested for the purpose of inspection in accordance with Section 53, 1 and 4 of the Public Health Act, 1994. Section 53(4) reads as follows. A justice of the peace or a judge of the Provincial Court of Saskatchewan may issue a warrant authorizing a public health officer to enter and search any place or premise or search any vehicle named in the warrant where the public health officer believes on reasonable grounds that a. an offense against the act has been or is being committed and there is evidence of the offense to be found in the place, premise, or vehicle proposed to be searched. I am assuming that they are referring to the jet systems in use, and those systems are all in place before 1994 and therefore are not an offense against the act. B, a condition, substance, agent, or thing is present in the place, premise, or vehicle proposed to be searched and is causing or likely to cause or contributing to or is likely to contribute to a serious public health threat. The community of Belbutte has 20 years of not having any reported health issues related to sewage. There is not a serious public health threat in place. There was a letter that came back from Prince Albert Parkland Health Region dated June the 4th. And I'd like to read a small section. Many small communities have been very unhappy to find that new standards relating to environmental health do apply in spite of the fact that given practices have been permitted for many years. The new standards are the same standards that I've talked about before in the Saskatchewan On-Site Wastewater Disposal Guide, Section 1. And if you read the third paragraph, it is not a permit, this is not a permit, and the information contained in herein does not override, substitute, or replace the requirements of the plumbing and drainage regulations and all other applicable federal and provincial legislation or municipal bylaws. In other words, the new guidelines do not apply to those sewage systems that were in place prior to 1994. They apply to new sewage systems, but not to the ones that were in place. The grandfathering section applies. The letter also goes on to say, the communities of Walkerton and North Battleford are two examples where serious health risk and even deaths occurred as the result of environmental contamination. Walkerton and North Battleford both had public inquiries, and the results of those public inquiries state the following. In Walkerton, the source of E. coli was linked back to cattle. The problem was basically the fact that of human error when the individuals operating the water treatment plant did not follow correct procedure. In North Battleford, the source was Cryptosporidium. Crypto is found in 90% of surface water, and cattle are the most common source. Battleford uses the Saskatchewan River as its source for drinking water, and the inquiry indicated that the reason for the contamination was that the operators did not understand the plant and had made errors. In neither of these cases was it linked to a sewage problem. And the letter that is being sent out and signed by Dr. Lenoir is attempting to do something that the public inquiries stated was not the case. Getting back to the letter of May 26th from Peter Ross, he says that the purpose of this survey is to determine if a health hazard exists in your community. Information from this survey will be used to determine the level of risk in your community. The health hazard regulations that are referred to under the Health Act all refer to drinking water. No sewage is referred to at all in relation to health hazards. In the Saskatchewan On-Site Wastewater Disposal Guide, there is no mention of health hazard. The guide does not suggest that it is stopping any health hazards. Health hazard, as defined in the Act, states that it is an agent, process, or state that is or may become harmful or dangerous to health. That is to say, anything from a shoelace to a peanut butter sandwich. Health hazard is not to be equated to a serious public health threat. I want to read to you the definition of a serious public health threat. It means any of the following: if it poses a significant risk to the health of many people. 1. The occurrence or threat of an occurrence of a communicable disease. 2. The presence or threat of the presence of a biological toxin, a chemical agent, or radioactive material. Only a serious public health threat can override the Public Health Act and Section 46(2), the grandfathering clause. It cannot be overridden by simply a health hazard. Health hazard, as the letter from Peter Ross indicates, the purpose of his survey is to check for a health hazard exists in our community, and information from this survey will be used to determine the level of risk in our community. I would like to indicate that in order for that to be done, there would have to be something for them to compare the information they gathered to. And the Canadian Medical Association Journal states that one of our most serious deficiencies is good information on the burden of illness associated with Canadian drinking water. We lack good national survey data on water systems and waterborne illness. Without better data, we cannot accurately identify health risks from drinking water or track our progress or lack of in the reduction of these risks.